It is no secret at all that I'm excited for the future of the Cosmic desktop. Being an alpha, it is understandably still very rough. For me, I'm not yet daily driving it. It's missing a lot of features I would expect to see, basic things like hover to focus on a window instead of click to focus, but this is why it is called the Cosmic Desktop Alpha. It's an alpha, it's not ready yet, but it does have a very solid foundation, and I want to see where it goes, and it has not yet crashed on me. Also, it is no secret at all that I am generally a fan of the Hyprland project. For the longest time, it was easily the best WRoots-based compositor. Now that it's moved to its own thing and is no longer based on WRoots, it's still the best standalone Wayland window manager. Now, there are interesting things happening over with things like Miracle WM, but for me, it's not yet where I want it to be, and there's a couple of things I would like to see over in that space. So this post is a perfect storm of things I'm obviously going to talk about. Vaxry, the Hyprland developer's take on the Cosmic Desktop Alpha, the problems and shortcomings of Cosmic. The TLDR is, honestly, I feel like you need to cook on this take a little bit longer. I feel like it kinda missed the mark. For what is essentially a buggy, bare-bones alpha at best, the coverage of Cosmic has been overwhelmingly positive. That must mean it's great, right? Well, not exactly. Let me explain the way that I talk about Cosmic. When I talk about Cosmic, I make it explicitly clear I am talking about an alpha. This is in very active development. Everything I say is subject to change, and very likely by the alpha 2, it is going to be a completely different desktop. And I'm not talking about Cosmic in the context of it being something daily driver ready. I'm not going to focus on heavy bugs or missing features. All of this is within expectations. Yes, I'm going to bring them up and things like that, but it's not going to be my main focus. My main focus is going to be the core concepts of what the desktop is built around, the direction the project is heading, and what Cosmic currently has is a very solid beginning. It shows that they understand what a desktop environment needs, what makes tiling actually useful, why people who like a floating system might also like a tiling system, and how to have these systems coexist and have them both be first-class citizens that are controlled in a way that feels familiar whilst making sense for both of these separate systems. Now, if Cosmic is in the same state in Alpha 2, Beta, Release Candidate, Release 1, then we have a very different story, because then it will show they actually haven't been trying to fix problems, they haven't been listening to feedback, they haven't been trying to make a better desktop. We don't have that point of comparison yet, and everything I've seen, every discussion that I've had with the Cosmic developers, seems like they know exactly what they are doing. System 76, the authors, are reposting en masse only the positive quotes from the reviews they cherry pick. Any negative comments on Reddit are being downvoted. The reception is mixed, but System 76 and hardcore Linux nerds want you to see Cosmic as the next coming of Jesus Christ himself. Why? Well, for the Rust cultist, that's obvious, cause my Rust. For others, dunno, maybe they are fed up with GNOME or KDE. Firstly, I would like to see a source on this. I know you can add pictures, you've done it plenty of times before, I know you can add links, just throwing this out there by itself only hurts your position. But let's just assume that this actually is true. I haven't seen it myself. I'm sure there's like one-off comments and posts that are being downvoted. Let's just say it's a widespread thing. If people are sick of GNOME and KDE, if people like it because of Rust, if people are generally really positive about Cosmic to the point where posts that are being negative are getting downvoted constantly, wouldn't that mean there is a lot more people that are positive than that are negative? Wouldn't that mean that people have a generally positive reception of it? But my second point is, yes, System 76 are reposting en masse only the positive quotes, because that is what the job of the PR team is. The PR team is supposed to promote it. The PR team is supposed to get people excited, and the PR team is doing their job as they should be doing it. The PR team doesn't have the job of giving you a fair, unbiased look at how people feel about Cosmic. That's the third-party reviewers who are doing that. The company is going to promote it. Am I rooting for Cosmic? No, I don't root for software. Do I hope it succeeds? Honestly, I don't think it will change anything for me, so I am at whatever here. I do think it's going to change things for people, even for those who don't actually use Cosmic. I think Smithy is doing a lot to really shake up what is happening in the Wayland development ecosystem. No longer do you have only 2 major desktops. Now you have a third that is getting very involved in discussions. And this is making things move at a very different pace than was ever possible. Before, you had to have WRoots, GNOME, and KDE, maybe Mer shows up, Western rarely shows up, actually agree on something. Now you have another one, and you can do things with one of those party being completely against it. As you may know, I'm the creator and lead developer of Hyprland and the ecosystem around it. You might say I'm biased. You might say... Yes, you might say that. Very true. But I try to approach this from a quite objective side. Cosmic is not my direct competitor. Hyprland is a compositor for advanced users. Cosmic is what it's meant to be, at least, a user-friendly DE. However, both are competing for the user who is interested in tiling. And I think there is a lot of people out there, and is being demonstrated by the fact that things like PopShell exist, and PopShell is really popular, that go to a window manager, as that was basically the only option. On X11, you can combine i3 and XFC, or i3 and KDE, and actually get something there, but on Wayland, your only option if you want tiling is rely on some kind of buggy extensions, which now in the case of GNOME are pretty much being discontinued because no one wants to maintain them, or you go to a standalone window manager. And you may not be going to the window manager just because you want a million knobs to turn. You may be going there because that was your only option. Cosmic provides a different outlet. Now let's talk about his first impressions. They were terrible to say the least. Amongst the sea of complete deal-breaker issues, horrible stutter and lag, inability to use 240Hz, mouse sensitivity not working, etc., the general implementations at the moment are janky to say the least. Tons of empty menus, wasted space, small annoying bugs. I do realize it's an alpha though, so I won't focus on the small bugs that can probably be fixed in 15 minutes and will be fixed. Now, I'm not going to deny any of these bugs existing. I've seen my fair share of really weird bugs, like the fact that, try to screenshot a vertical monitor, and you realize you can't do it because no one tested screenshotting on vertical monitors, and it completely dies. Because when it does a freeze frame of the screen, it assumes it's a horizontal monitor, having rotated incorrectly, also cutting off half the screen. But here is the problem that I have. You are the developer of Hyprland. I'm not going to tell you to go and fix the problem yourself. I know you are deathly allergic to Rust. But being the developer of a really big desktop, you know as much as anyone that sitting there and complaining about a bug without going and reporting it doesn't really help anyone. So if you have these problems that nobody else seems to be having, because I haven't heard of anyone having these particular issues. The stuttering, yes, but that's a hard drive issue and probably other things, but at least these ones here, why didn't you go and report the problem? Now, if you don't want to report the problem, totally fine. It is your time, do what you want with it. But when people do the exact same thing with Hyprland, they say the code base sucks, they say this sucks, that sucks, and never give any context for what the problem actually is, you don't then get to complain about those people doing the exact same thing to you. The design language, in my opinion, is one of the worst I've seen in a while, but I don't want to focus on this as it's all subjective after all. Now, I will grant him this, I'm not a big fan of the current padding and things like that. Sometime down the line, probably somewhere near Alpha 2, there is going to be a lot more in the way of density settings and things like that that should make it a lot more possible to really customize it the way that you want it to be. Not to the level of old GTK or old GNOME or KDE in its current state, but a lot more than it currently has, and that I feel like will address a lot of those issues. I've seen a lot of people saying very similar things here. Next up is the broad reception. Although most of the reception has been positive, some hasn't been. I've seen a few posts/videos that criticize Cosmic get downvoted and bullied to hell, especially on Reddit. Again, source. But also, going back to what I said about positive reception, if most people are positive and are downvoting the negative people, that would mean that most people are positive. Also, it's Reddit. Reddit is going to be Reddit. System 76 is not helping either, as they'll proudly claim every 30 minutes that another person said, "Cosmic looks cool, hee hee," and quote it on their Twitter and website. Again, absolutely true. They do this a lot. But that is the job expected of the PR team. If they weren't doing this, they wouldn't be doing their job. Here is a good general rule that doesn't just apply to Cosmic and System 76. If you go to a company's Twitter account, expect everything you see to be positive about the company. Whether it's System 76, whether it's Tesla, whether it's Boeing, whether it's, let's say Enron had a Twitter account during all the Enron stuff. They would have been constantly positive, like all the crypto people are constantly positive. This is not saying that Cosmic is like those things, but don't go to a company Twitter account expecting fair, unbiased coverage. Hopes and prayers. To be frank, most of the quotes on System 76's website are instantly sticking out as borderline idiotic to anyone thinks more about them. So all of these quotes come from a recent post Cosmic Alpha released, "Here's what people are saying." And that last one that was listed there, that one is from me. This post doesn't even have an author attached to it. Do you know why? The author doesn't matter because this is a post from the company. This is PR. This is an ad. You're literally looking at an ad, questioning why the ad is positive. Are we out of our minds? It's a barely functional alpha. All those quotes, and those are just a few, are at best running on hopes and prayers and not the actual experience. What foundation? Moving floating windows? Microsoft Windows 3.0 had that. What potential? To add more code? Just like to anything at this stage? No, the potential is the tiling system that has incredible mouse control, built-in window tabbing for every single window, shared controls between tiling and floating mode, grouping mode, so you can like take a bunch of windows and then operate on them as if that group is a singular window, making it really easy to move that around, rotate around other windows, and working X Wayland. No, this is not what Microsoft Windows 3.0 had. You know as well as I that that is not a fair comparison. If you gave Cosmic a real, honest try, treating it like an alpha, actually seeing what does it do, how does it behave, why are people talking about this, why are people excited, I have no idea how that could be your takeaway. Yes, you might not like what it's doing, you might not like where it's going, but to think that there is absolutely no reason why people are excited about this is absolutely insane. Here's a quote from the article, or better yet, the ad. Cosmic is designed to be a modern, customizable, and performant desktop environment. What is modern? Barely functional? Customizable? The current alpha is less customizable than GNOME. Performant? Because it's bare bones. No. The reason why there's not much customization is it's an alpha, right? You understood why it's less customizable, but you didn't make the connection in your head. What it means by modern isn't barely functional. What it means is it's not based on a 30-plus-year-old code base that is full of spaghetti code that nobody has touched in 15 years and doesn't want to touch. They wrote it decades ago, and it works, right? It works, but nobody really wants to do anything with it. This is a desktop that is learning from all of the mistakes that both KDE, GNOME, Budgie, XSC, Hyprland, and all of these other desktops have made over the years, and making sure not to make those mistakes again. Making sure that they can build a desktop around the expectations of today's Linux users rather than Linux users back in the 1990s. KDE is modern too, so is Windows or Mac. Yes, they are modern in their design language, but it's not just talking about the design language, it's talking about all of these other things that go along with it. and KDE has done a lot of work to bring things up to a modern standard. But there are still things like the fact that you can't do individual monitor workspaces. This is something that people have been asking for since the end of KDE 3, the start of KDE 4, and it's a giant open bug report that if you build a desktop from the start having that feature, you don't have this long legacy of issues that people have wanted resolved for a long time. Basically, System 76 will grep, modern, cool, good, and stick it in a blog post. This is the last time I'm going to say it. The PR team is doing PR. Yes, that's their job. The goal of Cosmic. To be honest, I'm not sure what System 76 wants Cosmic to be. Hear me out. If someone wants a clear, simple, it just work experience, they go GNOME. If someone wants to tinker, they go KDE. Where do you go Cosmic? And why would you want to? Cosmic is going to be two things. One, it is the middle ground. It is something that is just a nice, out-of-the-box experience, but you still want to have some level of tinkering. You don't think that defaults are the solution to every single problem. You don't think that the developers know better on every single design choice that is possible. You want to mess around with some parts of your desktop, but you don't really care about the full level of control you have on something like KDE. Also, you want the freedom to have a first-class tiling system without being afraid to configure everything from the terminal, from a text file. You want to have nice GUIs to do this. So far, all I can see is 3 reasons. Firstly, Rust. This is not a reason. The only people that care about this are the Rust people. No one actually using the software cares what language it's written in. Tiling. If you like tiling, you likely don't want a desktop environment. If you're an average user, you don't want tiling. There is a reason regular users don't use tiling. There is a reason Windows, Mac, and big Linux desktop environments don't do tiling. I completely disagree with this take, and this right here is factually inaccurate based on System 76's own users. I think when I had Carl on, he told me something like 30% of Pop! OS users make use of tiling. I think that's a lot of people that like tiling. The average user outside of Pop don't know if they want a desktop environment that has tiling or not because they didn't have the option to do so. They had the option of an extension that was for an older version of GNOME, or they could use Forge, and if they're a KDE user, they had kind of buggy extensions that in some cases crashed the entire desktop. They did not have the experience to test tiling with a desktop environment, and now they do. Now the rubber hits the road, and now people can actually see if this is something they like, and if this is something they want to use. We'll implement what GNOME won't. If you gain any foothold at all based purely on this, it's a very flimsy position, as GNOME can just implement it. I have not heard a single developer in System 76 say this as a benefit of using Cosmic. So that's just a made-up straw man anyway, but also, you know as well as I do that GNOME has design decisions they won't budge on. Things like client-side decorations, a modern system tray protocol. It took GNOME a very long time to just do DRM leasing. After everybody accepted this is the correct way to do it, there were still people arguing that it had to be done another way. It is completely okay that GNOME has a vision for the desktop, but that vision sometimes completely misaligns with what other desktops are doing and what users actually want. So Cosmic is for the tiny sliver of users that want a DE that tiles, or those that buy a System 76 machine and never change the DE. Well, yes, it's definitely for this because, yes, that makes sense, but I don't think this is a tiny audience. I think this is an audience that you would be surprised how big it's going to be that never had a chance to be a first-class member of a desktop environment. If you need any proof of that being the case, just look at the excitement around Cosmic. If you don't think that there is an audience for tiling and a desktop environment, I don't know what to tell you. A project absolutely needs a clear and catchy goal. needs. Without it, you're just another nobody in a sea of alternatives. There is a reason Hyprland has grown so fast. Look, let me be honest. The reason why Hyprland grew so fast is because there wasn't any competition in this space. If you're someone who likes desktop racing and you wanted to use Wayland, you could use Sway if you wanted manual tiling, but manual tiling sucks. If you wanted dynamic tiling and you wanted a bunch of really nice features and animations and things like that, there wasn't really a good option. Hyprland filled that niche. Hyprland gave people a chance to actually try out a system that worked out really well, and it did that incredibly well. And Cosmic has the exact same position. The issue is you are just ignoring the catchy goal it has. It is the desktop environment that gives floating and tiling users both a first-class experience. Tiling without the giant config file. Tiling with the application suite that you get from a desktop environment. Pop! OS and Pop! Shell have already shown that people want to see this, and the general excitement around Cosmic has already shown that people want to see this. They didn't just start making the desktop environment out of nowhere for no reason. They did their own user testing, they found out that people actually want this, people internally wanted this, and then they went and made it. Over sugarcoating reviews. High expectations. You're creating a bubble. Expectations grow, it's great, just in a moment, until it bursts because people's expectations became unrealistic. Once the bubble pops, you get a lot of negative PR that could even destroy your project. Look, if KDE managed to survive KDE 4, which was a dev release marketed as a full release, which was a complete mistake on their part, there is no way you can look at the KDE 4 release and think it was a good thing. If KDE managed to survive that, I think Cosmic's gonna be fine. Laid back devs. Developers think that we're making a great project. Do whatever, stop listening to criticism as you're rude or hater, and inevitably crash the entire project into the ground. Let's not throw stones in glass houses. You know that people talk about you and Hyprland in the exact same way. The Hyprland is never going to accept criticism. If you submit a patch, it's gonna get shot down. If you join the Discord, you're going to get bullied. It doesn't matter whether any of this is true or not. People think the exact same thing about you. It doesn't just apply to companies here. I've posted a small pasta after the alpha arrived with my very negative first experiences with Cosmic, and was later shared a screenshot from an internal System 76 channel where out of 5 developers, only 1 said, "Hey, we can't reproduce this, but it sounds like valuable feedback," because everyone else was like, "No one reported this, he's lying," or "Dude is mad and biased." Well, yes, no one did actually report this. But also, again, you know as well as I do that internal private channels are very different from public-facing repos. You're going to talk shit about people in private as well. Let's not pretend that doesn't happen. If I'm being completely honest here, whilst he did say he approached this from quite a objective side, I feel like he's letting his bias out considerably more than he's letting on. Cosmic is in a position to take over a lot of the market share that Hyprland has built up when it had literally zero competition, right? Like, yeah, River's cool and all that, and Sway if you like manual tiling, but Hyprland was just the best Wayland window manager. No questions asked. Cosmic absolutely has problems, and it's an alpha. I've talked about these problems very extensively. But to deny that it has a solid foundation, to deny that there is a massive group of users who want to see this project, honestly is delusional. So, let me know your thoughts down below. I don't have an issue with Vaxry. I just think he's very, very biased here and just doesn't want to admit how biased he actually is. And please, just don't report the bugs if you actually have problems. But let me know your thoughts down below. If you liked the video, go like the video. And if you really like the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out the Patreon, subscribe, Libera Pay, linked in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and let me know your thoughts on Cosmic down below.